guys, what's going on? It's me again, your boy Offsivum, and originally for this video, sorry, there's some motorcycles outside. But anyway, originally for this video, I was planning on doing a kind of a hype beast like roast session, but I thought that was a really stupid idea, and I didn't want to be on some hating shit, because, you know, like, I'm always the one that will support, you know, the hustle any way possible, and I know those guys are doing what they gotta do. So I'm not gonna do that hating shit. So we're gonna get into another topic for today's video, and that is gonna be, what is the fashion capital of the world? And I'm talking about countries. We're not gonna get specifically into cities, because that would be too broad of a category in my opinion, because there's a lot of countries themselves that aren't so big, but, you know, like, there's a lot of subcategories, cities in those countries that would make a good contention, but we're going to limit it to just countries for today as a whole. And for this list, I have 5 places that I have in mind, and I think this could be agreed with a lot of people, but it all comes down to, you know, who's the best. I don't know if I'm going to answer that question today. That might be up to you guys, but we're going to talk about these 5 countries and why they deserve to be in the running. Alright, so number 1, we have a country that a lot of people would definitely put on this contention, and that is Japan. Japan is by far one of the biggest fashion countries that you can think of. It's home to brands like, you know, from the dark undergrounds of Comme des Garçons, Undercover, that whole heavy black thing that I've talked about in the past videos about Japanese fashion. That's definitely there. And then you got, like, your brighter range of things, like a bathing ape, that bright, iconic camo. You got your vibrant, fluffy, weird colors and patterns from Kenzo. Japan is also not short on names when it comes to inspirations and, you know, fashion designers. Japan is just chock full of them. Nigo, Jun Takahashi, Junya Watanabe, Takashi Murakami, who's not a fashion designer, but he's an artist who has definitely inspired a lot of pieces to come out. Yohji Yamamoto, Kenzo Takada, and so many more names. That's just a couple, just to name a few. I won't get too deep into it because, like I said, I want to make this video as brief as possible. Japan does a good job of combining colors, vibrancy, all that stuff, and just making like a great, vibrant culture for streetwear and fashion. It's the home of many trends and the birthplace of many new designers and brands, and I'm happy to see what they have in the future. Alright, so next on this list we have the country of Italy. Yet another country that has a rich history. It goes way back further than Japan. I don't know if you want to agree with that or not, but in my opinion it does, and I think historically it does. There's a lot of old brands and household names that have their home in Italy and got their start here. Brands like Gucci obviously being the most iconic, but no, the ball does not stop there at all, believe me. You have other powerhouse brands like Bottega Veneta, Versace, Dolce & Gabbana, Salvador Ferragamo, Valentino, and the list goes on and on. Italy probably is primarily most well known for their leather goods, as a couple other of these countries on their list, as a couple other countries on this list are, but leather goods are definitely not a bad thing, you know. Obviously Louis Vuitton isn't an Italian, but it's one of the few major leather good producers that isn't from Italy, you know. Like brands I just mentioned before, Salvador Ferragamo and Valentino, very famous for their shoe models and belts as well. Valentino, not so much the belts, a lot of the women's wear, but still Valentino has inspired so many brands around the world, and it definitely has its place in the Italian fashion history. But beyond that, Italy is also huge in the modern streetwear world, so big actually that Milan is actually getting their own Supreme store installation. I mean, you can think what you want of Supreme. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I mean, your country having a Supreme store definitely cements their place in modern day streetwear and fashion culture. A lot of Italian designers, aside from Gucci nowadays, are really more focused on traditional fashion, traditional looks, and that's not a bad thing at all. That just sets the country even more further apart from being unique. It's not a bad thing at all. They're definitely not as grungy and like reconstructed look as some of the other countries on this list, Japan included. But, you know, Gucci definitely leaves its mark and has its own unique fashion in the world. Alright, our next country on this list is the good old USA. Fuck yeah, baby, the USA. I'm not trying to dick ride here, but, you know, I'm from the USA, so you gotta rep out. But I mean, this will obviously, if you're not from the USA still has to be on your radar of top modern fashion country. The USA is home to one of, if not the biggest name in streetwear currently, Supreme New York City, and it has stores in Los Angeles and New York City. While it may not have as many as Japan does, you have to admit that the USA is its birthplace. And unlike other countries, the USA is very unique in where a lot of its fashion designers take inspiration from. A lot of fashion design around here comes from inspiration from the streets and hip-hop culture. It's very unique from the rest of the world. I mean, the street culture and hip-hop culture kind of got its start in the USA, and so, you know, that whole American spirit and that whole American ideology is definitely woven into clothing brands and designers that have always come out of this country, giving America a very unique, urban, hip-hop inspired look that has definitely transcended generations. It's been very popular for years now, from the leather jackets of the 60s all the way to the iconic trench coats and Vans of the 2010s. America has kept it classy and also grunge at the same time. Very unique style, a lot of cool designers to come out of here. Marc Jacobs, Tom Brown, Kanye West, think what you want of them. There's no shortage of names here either. So definitely, as you can see by those names I just listed there, not to mention Tom Ford, America has a unique blend of high fashion and, coats, fancy coats and shit, and then, Kanye West, Pharrell, then more like streetwear, like deconstructed Virgil Abloh as well. Who could forget about him? But there you go. America is a good combination of a lot of things. I know I've said that about a few other countries on this list, but it all makes them so unique, all their different representations. Alright, moving on to the last country on this list, and remember, just because your country wasn't included on this list does not mean that your country's bad at fashion. I was simply just giving a consensus of the top 5 countries that most people would agree are up there in the top 5. So we're going to go with the United Kingdom for number 5. That shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. You're probably waiting for it to get mentioned on this list. It is arguably one of the central hubs of underground grunge fashion. And when I say fashion, I kind of mean streetwear too. I'm combining the two today for the sake of the video. And much like the US, hip-hop and skate culture have been much inspired in this country. You have brands like Palace, River Thames, which are kind of similar. I know Blondie McCoy kind of dabbles in both of the brands, but they are still huge brands that come out and represent the United Kingdom and the whole skate hip-hop culture wave. You have another huge designer to come out of this country, Alexander McQueen, probably one of the more iconic. He's very well known for a lot of his black and white stuff, not very heavy on the colors, but I would say most designers to come out of the UK aren't very heavy on using colors. That is aside from one company in particular, and that is obviously probably the most iconic brand from the UK, Burberry. I'll finish up my discussion about the UK by mentioning Burberry and why Burberry makes the UK a contender for top fashion country. Burberry has produced traditional pants, dress codes for years. Their pattern and monogram is just as iconic as the Louis Vuitton and Gucci monogram. Obviously just as iconic. If you see that tannish plaid and brown pattern from a mile away, you'll know instantly that it's Burberry. Burberry is one of the few companies on the British list that doesn't really use black and white as heavily, but that doesn't mean that they're all the more special. The weather in Britain is always down, gloomy, rainy it seems. I'm not from there, don't criticize me for saying that, but that's how it always appears in movies and the news. And I think their fashion reflects that, and that's definitely not a bad thing. Definitely underground, grungy, grimy, stormy. Really cool, man, and it makes for some cool, interesting urban pieces that come out of the UK. So that is it for today's video, guys. This video took a long time to make. I had to do a lot of research for this and get that whole thing typed out, but I think it was worth doing. I think it was worth giving a mention to all these countries, a good nod. You guys feel free, subscribe, like this video. Be sure to tell your friends about Office of Them. And thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Office of Them out.